okay, I've never ever directly disrespected you. This is also new information that you've been given this assignment. Again, clairvoyance is very helpful.
Well, it's all about providing the narcissistic supply, right? I mean,
yes, absolutely.
They must be constantly fed. So you could not be disrespectful, but because you didn't provide the supply, who do you think you are?
And it's constantly changing.
Yeah. Oh, the rules?
The rules, yes. So, I'm doing this, I'm keeping you informed. Well, that's not good enough. Now you have to keep me informed and send it to me in this format.
So that sounds to me like the very overstated, but I think accurate word of gaslighting. Like, as soon as you figure out what the rules are, we're going to change them. Oh, no, I never said that. Oh, you must have misunderstood that. And even low-brow, low-key gaslighting is crazy-making. And
it's not even you misunderstood that. It's like, I told you to do this. Why didn't you? Mm-hmm. This has been kind of my experience. It's like, you never actually said that. Right. You never said, you never gave me. So it's absolutely gaslighting, and it's very... Sometimes it's very subtle. A lot of times with some of these guys, especially the ones who aren't who are kind of the senior narcissists generally are pretty smooth and subtle. Some of the guys who are just kind of struggling on the bottom aren't trying to just got in the club. They're a little less subtle about that, but they're it can be really frustrating to deal with these guys.
Yes. So you have had I'm sure on many levels, but the corporate level experience with it. I can guarantee you, and I know you know this, that the military is endemic with narcissism and gaslighting, and condescension and all of that, and power and control, because it's power and control overall. Yes. And it's not necessarily just male. I certainly have just had an experience with primarily females. In fact, I would say my two biggest nightmares work-wise have been female narcissists. So it doesn't impact just one gender. It impacts both genders. It is in the work world. I can definitely attest to it being in the personal world with relationships that I've had. One of the most extremely difficult relationships I've ever been in, certifiably narcissistic. The gaslighting, the making me question what I heard, what I saw, the constant shaming, condescending. There's this saying, I think you and I have said it before, the only way to win with a narcissist is not to play. That is Absolutely. To walk away. Now, in a job, it's not always possible to do that, at least not right away. But in a relationship, as hard as it is to walk away, don't get sucked back in. Do not get sucked back into the connections and the games with the narcissist.
So if you don't play the game, if you don't feed the narcissistic energy, they have to go somewhere else for it.
They will. They cannot survive. I really don't believe they cannot survive without the narcissistic supply. The people worshiping them, or at least bowing down to them. And of course, as soon as you bow down to them, you lose their attention and they go elsewhere. And never quite letting you go, but.
And I've had narcissistic women in the workplace, but generally they're a little more subtle, but
much
because
more sneaky.
I'm very, very, very much so, and certainly, and I'm going to throw something out here since you were there. Certainly in academia, it's rampant. So it's even so local school systems. It's you have your local school system. It's not about educating your children. They're like fourth or fifth on the list. It's all about the power. It's all about the ego. It's all about how much territory they can control.
Yes.
Education of kids, fourth or fifth.
Yes. University level for sure.
Yes. And after I finished grad school, I taught for a couple of years in a career college type setting, and it was even there. In fact, it was worse there. It was terrible.
So you taught at the university level?
Yeah, at a junior college level,
okay.
And it was not.
Yeah.
It was funny. It's like, what is it doing? This is, but small pond. You got to establish your dominance as the big fish, right?
Absolutely. And it doesn't matter the size, because my experience in community college was the smaller the location, the bigger the ego, and
yes, absolutely,
the power and control.
Yes, that's it. And I have I have a lot of friends who are university professors, and they tell you the same thing. Yeah, the politics is awful. The egos are awful. I mean, they're just they're all running around. So it's interesting because I saw that as a professional, and I'd work occasionally for friends who have a catering job, and I would work at a local. So we've done gigs at local universities, and so you got to the owners of companies all had were degree professionals. I'm a master's degree serving dinner to these people, and it's just for fun because I like the guys and I enjoy the cooking. So I'm sitting there and I'm listening. It's like, wow, okay. There was very definite pecking order, and this was in this case the person was female.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. I think. Well, this is totally a female perspective, obviously, but narcissism is not easy either way. But
no.
If I had my preference for me, because it tends to be more overt and in your face, it would be with a male narcissist. The females are much more sneaky, much more incognito. My first job out of my grad program, I went to work for a treatment center, and didn't take very long. I was a new mom, so I already struggled with leaving, my little girl. But I loved my job. I loved working with the kids. It was, a residential treatment center. And, I'd come to work one day, and my 8-year-old, one of my kids, my clients, he had a broken arm. Okay, and that broken arm came from a staff member that got a little bit too intense. And then the next thing I know, one of my 15-year-old clients, again, this is a lockdown facility, she's pregnant because she was allowed by one of the staff members to go into the chapel and copulate with her boyfriend. And so I started getting more and more concerned, and I went to the director, certifiable narcissist, and very calmly explained that I had some real concerns about the well-being and the health of my clients, and that I felt like we needed to make some changes. And her exact words to me were, well, I have had some concerns about you working in this environment, if it might be just too much for you. And so, and keep in mind, she never knew my stress levels. I got everything done. I would come in there and have supervision sessions just because for my licensure, I had to do that. But she said, so we're just going to take this as your notice. I'll be looking for someone to replace you. You be looking for another job. And whichever happens first, that will be your last day. And the day that was to be my last day, she sent her guys. She was nowhere to be found. She chose a day she wasn't going to be there, which I'm finding across the board tends to happen. And they had me pack my stuff up and march me out. A real display to make the person who betrayed and abandoned her, quote unquote, look bad. And so that was my first real experience with a Cruella de Vil narcissistic woman. But that wasn't enough for her. The next thing I know, she had made a comment to the board about being concerned about me being licensed. And so I got to walk through that and show the situation, and it worked out well, obviously. But the whole message is do not cross her. She was threatened by my concerns. And that's how it went. Yeah. Very
You told me
good.
that story before. That's really interesting.
A life lesson for sure. And it, of course, it blessed me tenfold because I went into a wonderful job after that, working for Head Start of Greater Dallas. But I will tell you, the gaslighting was real, and the self-doubt, and the maybe I shouldn't have, and what did I do? Feeling like I betrayed and left my clients there. And so I made a report to the actual, corporation that owned the treatment center, and told them to get in there and get involved. And that did work. She was very soon after that let go. But it is, I can see where some people would be so concerned about the anxiety and the security of it that they back off and they don't report.
Well, that's the idea.
Yeah, it works, right? I mean,
yeah. So
it takes a lot of guts.
It works most of the time. I would like to say, wow, that's an isolated incident, but as you're telling the story, I think I have seen that happen.
Yes. It's very low key.
It's very low key. But they've, and it was wow, the parallels are scary.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And they went after them after they're gone. They went after them professionally for really no reason,
except for crossing them.
So not playing the game. So a person gets let go for saying the emperor has no clothes.
Yes, exactly. Even though everybody can see it, I find that those experiences have come up a few times for me, and I would be interested to hear how you've made logical sense or peace with all this. For me, it was, these situations are for me to go in there and do the right thing. And maybe that's my own built-in need to feel important. But that's the way I would get through it and keep doing the right thing. I've had a similar situation, not the same outcome, occur fairly recently with a female boss. And I still feel like I needed to fight the fight and get out when it was time. But I still have some remnants of grief about leaving my clients, leaving the situation. So, for you, how have you worked through it, I think?
So no matter what I do, for whom I'm working, as the narcissist or the greatest boss in the world, I always go in and do my best job. So no matter what I'm doing and who I'm working for, who I'm working with, and happily I've been able to avoid, except early on in my career. That's also interesting. The having worked directly for a narcissist, I'm going to go in and do my best. I will work around this person. I will work with this person. I will do whatever I have to do to get my job done. And I have a very, my job is very task oriented, very deadline oriented. Mm-hmm. So I have to stay on top of that. So sometimes it means I throw a little snooze on the ego.
Sure.
I'm not above using. I've been around so much. It's like, okay, I know how to get something out of this guy, so I will stroke the ego and to get the end result that I need, so I can actually do my job.
Well, I think we all have to do a level of playing the game in order to get our jobs done.
Absolutely, and maybe it's not fair to pick on narcissists, because I guess everybody has to do that no matter what. But it's like,
sure.
Yeah, but with them, and so got back. So 10 years ago, I remember now. We were in this situation, and we were predicting the outcome of what was going to happen in each of our narcissist situations. And I was like, I think I can write a math formula to figure this out.
Yeah.
That was the conversation we started having 10 years ago. Like, we can get with at least an 80% accuracy. We know what's going to happen.
Well, I think our 50-foot feelers, especially for empaths, we sense and feel. So our bodies do the formula. I would love to see a formula. How's that coming?
Yeah, well, I gave up on it. So I've done hard math in 40 some odd years. So it's like, 45 years. So no more calculus for me.